So, the Nothing Phone 2 was just announced. It's available right now, and it's big news because it's coming here to the US, which is important because last year, the Nothing Phone 1 was only available overseas. The Nothing Phone 2's biggest rival is without a doubt the Google Pixel 7a because they're both mid-range phones. They're very close in terms of the size, the audience that they're going after. They're priced similarly. The Pixel 7a is $500 while the Nothing Phone 2 is $600. Of course, everyone knows that Google is great and phenomenal when it comes to its cameras, and the 7a is no different. So I'm going to be checking it out along with the Nothing Phone 2 with its new set of cameras to see how they stack up against one another. When the Nothing Phone 1 was released last year, it was a big attention grabber because of its transparent design, of course the glyphs, the lighting system. It was great that you could use it for different notifications, you could personalize it. However, it was really underwhelming with its camera. It just wasn't great for low light. The photos it took were pale, washed out compared to some of the others out there. Now with the Nothing Phone 2, they've actually upgraded the cameras. It's still a 50 megapixel main camera. You have a 50 megapixel wide camera, but it uses the new Sony IMX890 sensor. So hopefully it's gonna perform a lot better, especially in low light. Well, with the Pixel 7a, it's a 64 megapixel main camera, 13 megapixel wide angle camera, but it has some exclusive features that you'll only find on Pixel, like Magic Eraser and Photo and Blur. Knowing all that, I'm kind of curious about how well these new cameras perform in the Nothing Phone 2. So I'm going to take it out on the road, take a bunch of photos, and compare the shots against the Pixel 7a. The first thing that strikes me is just the larger screen. It actually looks a lot like the iPhone 14 Pro Max. I put it side by side, and at first I thought it was the iPhone 14 Pro Max. So it's a 6.7-inch OLED display, and it looks nice. So one of the most important things is having a great main camera that's your go-to camera for everything, everyday situations, whether it's taking landscapes. You want to make sure that captures great details and has excellent dynamic range, because the last thing you want is for the main camera to have the highlights blown out when you're taking a photo like this on a sunny day. So here's that first shot, and at first they look almost identical, but the Nothing Phone 2 tends to produce warmer looking colors. It's not bad depending on your taste, but the Pixel 7a definitely has more details. I notice it especially with the sign on the left. When I punch in, I could read the text a lot more. It's sharper and clearer. Up next, I'm going to talk about the portrait mode on both cameras. Now, I checked it out here on the Nothing Phone 2. It only uses the main camera. There is a slider where you can adjust the aperture so you can go really wide or very narrow. And of course, there's all the post-processing it does to apply it. There's only one camera that does it all. Whereas with the Pixel 7a, you get the option to punch in up to 2 times. Still uses that regular main camera, but there's no option from the camera app to adjust the aperture. It just does it all on its own. To me, I like the Pixel 7a a lot more because it's realistic looking compared to Nothing Phone 2. Even though it has a tighter crop when you actually take the photo, I just like how it just adds that perfect amount of bokeh. Whereas with the Nothing Phone 2, I know you could dial back down the bokeh, but it just doesn't look real. It looks a little bit too artificial. People love taking selfies, so here on the Nothing Phone 2, it's a 32 megapixel camera. Using the app, you actually have the option to do also portrait. You have the slider here as well where you can actually adjust the aperture so you can get just the amount of bokeh to the background. With the Pixel 7a, you also have the option for portrait mode, but there's no slider with it. It's a tough call here with selfies because I do like how there's more detail with the Nothing Phone 2's front-facing camera, but on the other hand, the Pixel 7a does a better job of handling dynamic range, and it's also wider with the front-facing camera, so you'll be able to capture more of yourself. So another thing you want to think about is the ultra-wide camera. You find in today's phones, even mid-rangers, and it's important because you're going to be able to capture more of the scene. For example, a scenery like this where you have landscape, also wonderful if you're taking a group shot with people in it, so they don't have to be all scrunched up. They can be just in one area and you'll capture everyone perfectly. So the ultra-wide camera here on the Nothing Phone 2 is a 50 megapixel camera with a 114-degree field of view, so you'll be able to get more of the shot into the scene. Over here on the Pixel 7a, it actually has a wider field of view. It's a 120-degree field of view, so you're going to get more of the scene with the wide-angle camera. Just like the main cameras, I'm liking the Pixel 7a's ultra-wide camera more in the shot, especially because it covers more of the scene. You could see it on the sides with the buildings, but on top of that, it handles dynamic range a little bit better. I could see in the shadows where you could see more of the details. Well, it's pretty obvious which phone does better when it comes to low-light photography. It's the Pixel 7a. Night side mode just makes it a lot brighter. It draws out more of the details. You can see it in the leaves in the tree. Versus the Nothing Phone 2. It's dark and it's not properly exposed. Finally, there's video recording. With the Nothing Phone 2, it tops out at 4K 60 frames per second. Same thing here on the Pixel 7a, but I will tell you, if you want to use the wide angle here with the Pixel 7a, you got to switch it down to 1080p. You have the option to use the wide angle with the Nothing Phone 2 at the full resolution. This one's a close race because when you look at both videos, they handle stabilization pretty well, but I do notice some micro jitters on the Nothing Phone 2. It's not terrible, but side by side against the Pixel 7a, it does stand out a little bit, and that's why I'm going to give it to the Pixel 7a. So there you go, guys. Let me know what you think about the photos in the comments below. Which one did you like better when it came to taking portrait shots, low-light photography? I'm going to be testing out more, so you can check out my full review over at tomsguide.com. Check us out on social at tomsguide. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm John V, and I'll see you in my next video.